Nữa cũng xin lưu ý các quý vị là trong lúc pháp đàm thì trừ khi có việc cần thiết, các vị nên hạn chế việc đi ra đi vào pháp đàm, mở cửa đóng cửa, gây nhiều cái xáo trộn cho pháp hội. Với hơn nữa là khi đi ra đi vào thì xin các quý vị lưu ý đóng cửa. Vâng, bây giờ thì chúng ta có thể bắt đầu. Có ai có câu hỏi cô Trúc Thanh ạ? Dạ, con xin mời cô Như Hòa ạ. Ai có ý chuyển mic cho cô Như Hòa với ạ?
Dạ, con chào A Chan, các bậc thầy và cả chúng hộ. Con muốn hỏi A Chan giải thích cho con thêm về cái ý nghĩa của khẩu biểu chi và thân biểu chi là sắc do tâm sinh. Thì con muốn nghe về cái khoảng khắc hiện tại, nó tâm nó sẽ quyết định khẩu biểu chi và thân biểu chi. Con muốn nghe về điều này ạ.
She would like to hear about Vachi, Vinyati and Kaya Vinyati. How does the Chitta condition the Kaya Vinyati and Vachi Vinyati at this moment?
For anyone who is not familiar with these terms, the Kaya Vinyati and the Chitta Vinyati are two rupas which are involved. The Kaya Vinyati is involved when there is bodily intimation. For example, when I gesture now to convey a meaning, the rupas are conditioned by Chitta at this moment. And when I speak now, there is the intention to speak. So the intention with the Chitta is conditioning the rupa. Are you hearing? Okay. So it's at this very moment in daily life, we think that I speak, I intend to speak, and that the speech is conditioned. But actually there has to be the rupa, the Vachi Vinyati rupa, which makes it possible for the speech to occur. It's a rupa that arises in a group of rupas whenever there is the vocal intimation, whenever there is speech. So it's at this very moment. And the gestures, the rupas that are involved in making those gestures, they are there at each moment whenever there is the intention to move one's hands, move one's lips, even when one frowns now, conditioned by chitta, conveying a meaning. And these rupas arise and fall away very rapidly. They don't appear, but they are there, making it possible for the speech to occur or the bodily movements to occur. So it's at this very moment. Like I can see a friend who is lifting his mobile phone and speaking on the phone. So Kaya Vinyati at those moments of lifting the phone, Vachi Vinyati when speaking. And these rupas, they have a very short lifespan, not the usual 17 moments of chitta, less than that, fall away instantly. So they don't appear, but we know they're there in the group of rupas. Anything in particular on these points or any particular interest you would like to discuss or mention?
Dịch ạ. Nhưng bạn vẫn đang dịch ạ. Dạ. Như vậy thì như sự giải thích của bà thì thời gian mà có khẩu biểu chi hoặc thân biểu chi thì đều không phải là của một con người, một tự ngã, mà nó là những cái khoảnh khắc tâm ở thời điểm đó, như là tại khoảng khắc đó nó làm duyên cho việc làm hay lời nói, thì có những cái nó phụ thuộc vào những đặc tính của tâm ở thời điểm đó mà nó có những hành động, lời nói khác nhau. Thì con nghe và con hiểu như vậy.
My understanding from what you said is that there's no self at all, depending on the quality of the citta at each moment, that there are actions and words spoken because of the rupas that are conditioned by those citta. Is that correct?
Yes. So citta can condition different groups of rupas. At every moment when citta arises, almost every moment, not at moments of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching, but almost every other moment, the citta conditions a group of rupas, 8 rupas at least, arising together in a group. It can also condition a group of rupas with 11 rupas, when, as well as the 8 rupas that always arise together in a group, the kaya vinyati rupa arises with that group of 8 rupas. So 9 rupas at those moments, because the citta conditions the bodily intimation, the rupa that makes it possible to move. Or the citta may condition a group of rupas of 10 rupas. And then in addition to the 8 rupas that always arise together in a group, there is the sound condition and the vachi vinyati, the rupa that makes it possible for the speech to occur. But there has to be the sound conditioned by the citta as well. And on and on and on. Or there may be, like in deep sleep, there may be some bodily movement that is, but no intention to move, no intention to speak. It may be just movement conditioned at those moments. And then there are 3 other rupas that are conditioned. So we learn the intricacies to find that citta can condition different groups of rupas in different ways. Often people talk about breath, but actually citta is conditioning rupas, what is actually referred to as breath at every moment, almost every moment in life, arising and falling away. So we learn that the rupas conditioned by citta are different from the rupas conditioned by temperature, for example, like the rupas, which are what we refer to as the flowers, are just conditioned by rupas. So no kaya vinyati, no vachi vinyati, because no rupas conditioned by citta. But now we can see around rupas conditioned by citta so commonly, like when taking the tissues out of the packet, putting the things in the bag. There must be the rupa conditioned by chitta for this to be possible. It is the intention to convey a meaning at that time.
Con rất là hoan hỉ lời giải thích của bà, giống như là nó làm sáng tỏ cái việc không phải là một con người nói, một con người làm, mà chỉ có tâm là thực ở thời điểm đó. Con rất là tri ân bà.
I'm very glad with your explanation because it shines up the truth that there's no one who's speaking and no one who's doing. Thank you very much.
And this is the only point, the only reason for learning the details, to really understand more firmly and confident. No one that lifts the pen, no one that writes a message, no one that speaks, no one that gestures. And by the time we think about lifting the pen or gesturing, countless chittas have arisen and fallen away. Countless groups of rupa with vaci vinyati or kaya vinyati have arisen and fall away so rapidly. No one to choose or control or do anything at all. Would you like to add anything, Ajahn?
Can be kind of rupa. Can kaya vaci vinyati or kaya vinyati be known now? Be known, not just to heard about it. See, we just talk about the very subtle realities, all are so subtle. No word when there is the understanding of what is there now appearing. For example, what is seen, we can say, it's flower. See, a flower. Can a flower walk? When it's touched, it's soft or hard. No matter it's flower or table or glass. Can they walk? The glass water? Can it walk? Can the flower walk? Or can it sing? See, that's why even what appears as hardness and softness, it's different at moment of walking or talking. That's why it's not just that which is hard. Hardness is just hardness. But when it's moment of talking, speaking, walking, and so on, movement of the body, just the hardness itself, can it walk? It's hard. It cannot move. It's hard. So when the citta has intention to speak or to walk, it's the moment when kaya vinyati is there together with hardness. But it's not just only that which is hard. Another quality, flexibility is there. Be able to move. And that is not just hardness, but it's that rupa which is conditioned by citta, the will to walk, make that rupa to be just able to walk or able to, no matter it's this way or that way or any way. See, the hardness itself cannot move at all. It's hard. But when there is another rupa which make it be able to move, that rupa is kaya vinyati. At moment of speaking, there's sound too. If the lips or the tongue doesn't move, can there be any sound? So the tongue is hard, and we call it a tongue, but in truth, the rupa, which is the tongue sense, is there in the middle of the whole tongue. See, that's why we learn little by little to understand the subtle truth, which is hidden all the time. Even right now, there must be the vikara rupa and vaci vinyati at moment of talking. But what is known, the reality, which is there appearing, no word. So at moment of being aware or understanding the nature of hardness at moment of sitting, it's different from moment when it moves. Sometimes it's dance like that, see? By the citta, which has intention for it to be that way. And there must be another rupa, which condition this different rupa, not just hardness, but it is able to move. So we learn by word, kaya vikara rupa, kaya vinyati, and vachi vinyati. Now, but since no understanding that as just a reality, it's taken from my arm or my finger, my lips, no understanding of that which is soft or hard at moment when it's that touch, right? Is the glass hard? Who knows? And how can it be known whether it's hard or not? At moment of touching, see, no word about it, but the characteristic of hardness is there, experienced. That's why learn to understand the nature of what is there as it is, little by little, to understand that which is there in a day, which experiences different moments, different objects, and that which cannot experience anything at all, to let go the idea that my hand is soft or hard, not my hand, but it's just hardness there, until there's no wrong understanding, taking it as my hand or my arm at all. Everything just appears as it is, as just a reality. For example, sound is real, but it's not hard. And later on, we understand more and more about sound and how many rupas arise together in a group, which it's different when it's conditioned by citta or by kamma or by uttu, temperature, or by ahara, nutrition. Otherwise, there cannot be letting go the idea of something at all. If there's no understanding, it's through nature at moment when it's there. So now we just talk about what is there, but it does not appear yet to right understanding, but it appears as something all the time. What is this? What is that? It's hard. It's hard. No one thought about the truth. But the memory which marks and remember that which appears together from moment to moment as shape and form, condition the idea of I here and the glass there, and so on. Can the dead body move with some citta? Impossible. Because that is the rupa conditioned by citta. See? So many groups, uncountable groups, conditioned by different conditions. Some are conditioned by kamma, eyes, ears. Temperature cannot condition the eye to arise, only kamma. Now, chakku, prasada, the eye base, the quality of a reality, which can be the point that what is there impinge on it and condition citta. See, this is the way to gradually let go the idea of the I is mine or my I, because in truth, does it show up now? Who knows the I base? Because there is seeing. And that is the base for its arising is not known. So even just any reality arising and falling away needs its proper conditions for its arising, just to arise and then fall away instantly. If there is no understanding of the truth right now, can there be letting go, beginning to understand the I base, or the seeing, or that which appears? by another's, not at will, not by expectation or try so hard to experience it. Otherwise, there cannot be the understanding of all dhammas are anatta. What arises has to have its proper conditions just to arise and fall away. If nothing arises at all, no world at all, no one at all. But what is their condition to arise? Just arise and fall away. As Viet Vinyati and Kaya Vinyati, is it that which experiences the object or it cannot experience? This is going to be learned little by little until right understanding is there so firm that it can condition moment of understanding what appears, not by will, but by conditions. So now, who realize the truth that seeing, before seeing, there's no seeing, and then there is seeing by conditions, as soon as it sees, it falls away. Buddha didn't teach just the word to understand intellectually about what is now appearing, but the way to develop right understanding, to let go ignorance and attachment, which covers up the truth, even right now. That's why even the moment when it's there arising and falling away cannot be realized at all. But it's there as it is, but no understanding. As soon as it's there and falls away, many moments, it's taken for something by the shape and form, or in Pali, nimitta. We live in the world of nimitta. But in truth, it's the world of Dhamma, the absolute realities, the ultimate realities. But they are known by nimitta as something from birth. So we live in the world of nimitta, the world of ignorance and attachment, on and on and on, each moment. So Buddha taught about everything to condition the attachment or letting go, wrong understanding and attachment. Take it for something or someone or me all the time. Where is the Vaci Vinyati? See, when there's no condition for it arises, can there be Vaci Vinyati or Kaya Vinyati? See, sit still. We can think, but at moment of speaking, it's not just thinking. It needs the movement of the lips and the tongue and so on. Instantly, unknowingly, because everything now is so instant, just arise and fall away. So learn to understand the subtlety of the truth, which is long, long time ago hidden, more and more and more, covers up the truth. That's why Buddha taught for 45 years to understand what he said as it's now. Chitta is right now. Rupa is right now. But begin to understand a little more the different moment of just sitting still or stretch the hand out and so on, walking and so on, speaking and the sound and so on. All are dhammas, no one there at all. That's why the intellectual understanding about what is there now has to be so firm. No one now, only nimitta, the sign, the shape, the form of this and that, to be taken for flower or table or this person or that person. Just living in the world of nimitta from birth to death. But the truth is there. That's why Buddha had to take quite a long, long time, years and years, to realize the truth. After his enlightenment, what he said, Dhamma is so very subtle, but it can be known, but not by ignorance or no understanding at all. So now it is the moment of developing right understanding to realize the truth. The fourth path, the fourth Arya Satya of the four Arya Satya, the path leading to realize the truth. So now one knows the truth is there now. If one goes somewhere, just try to understand it. It cannot be understood because the attachment and ignorance covers up the truth of that very moment, even thinking to go. Thinking is knowing. What kind of reality is it? See, through what doorway? Just learn to understand what is there in life. That's all. As parami, condition supporting the understanding to develop on and on, little by little, so very little unknown. As we touch whatever, who knows how long it will wear away, even just a little bit. But when it wears away, one knows by touching. So now by hearing, considering, understanding with virya, effort, and patience to understand this, just this, not by thinking about it or the story about it, but when it's there, it's known that at moment of vikara or vinyati is there, it's not just hardness. Can it be known without hardness? Can be known together? It's just for considering carefully. Otherwise, there cannot be the moment of discern to the very deep truth right now. Is it so deep? It's there arising and falling away. And this is parami. That's why with our parami, a moment of kusala, with right understanding, to understand a little more. No one there at moment of trying so hard. It's not anyone. It's a reality. Virya, cetasika, and so on. That's why Buddha taught about reality by different words because they're so different. Like vikara, rupa, and vinyati rupa, and so on. So learn to understand what is there, not just the word. So now, when we talk about vinyati, it's now. When we talk about vikara, it's now. When we talk about attachment, it's now. When we talk about ignorance, it's now. As long as it's not realized, the nature of it, at moment when it's there, even by nimitta, arising and falling away, it's much different from this moment. Because at that moment, just one reality appears. When they are all together right now, no understanding of anyone clear at all. That's why respect the truth and the virtues of the Buddha who developed great parami to realize the truth, not just only now, no matter when, the greatest right understanding, supreme right understanding that no one can compare. So who are we now? Just listening gradually to realize how great wisdom is there, understanding each word, little by little, not fully understood yet. That's why learn to study carefully what is there, as Buddha taught about it. Seeing is now, hearing is now, everything is now. So that can be the understanding of how much ignorance accumulated so long that even hearing such truth of what is there, it does not appear yet. But the understanding that it's there before it's there, it hasn't arisen yet. But when it's now arisen, it's gone. It's gone. And this is the word, arising and falling away. Dhammas are anatta, or sankhara dhamma, conditioned dhamma, is not permanent. Anicca, dukkha, and anatta. Is it now? Everything? what we talk about is there now. And without the first round of the Four, the understanding of the Four Noble Truths, how can there be the second round of the Four Noble Truths? We just don't talk about understanding. Hearing, patipati, in Thai, it means to do. So they just do. No understanding at all. That's why we begin to be so very careful, considering each word. Dhamma, now, Dhamma all around. It has its own characteristic to be different Dhammas. One can realize, one can experience the object. What is meant by experience? This is seen. How can it be seen without the reality which sees or experiences the nature of that? Is that which is seen hard? Impossible. So what is it? Only a reality which is so real now. It's there to be understood. It's so real because the seeing sees it. So the seeing is the world, and what is seen is the world. Without that which is Dhamma, arising and falling away, experience an object, or that which is there is experienced. How can there be any world or anything or any moment? So what's there now? No one. The moment of seeing, the moment of hearing, the moment of thinking, and the rupa, that which cannot experience, but it can be known through 6 doorways. And without hearing the truth, how can there be any understanding of what is there every moment? No one. It's gone, never to return at all, not just in this life, but in samsara, never to arise again. So now you're talking about Kaya Vinyati, it's there now. And Vici Vinyati now. It's the Rupa or the Nama, Vici Vinyati. See, without considering, can it be firm, understood as it is, as one of the two? Is there Kaya Vinyati now? See, the Chitta has such intention to move, to let the other know what does it mean. Or they see.
And sometimes there may be the intention to move, but maybe one's sick or paralyzed, and however great the intention is, no movement takes place, no kaya vinyati. Or there may be the intention to speak, but one may have a sore throat, one may not to speak. So even though there's the intention, no sound comes out, no vaci vinyati arising with the group of rupas at those moments. So we can see every reality is conditioned. Even when there's intention, it doesn't mean that the speech will occur. So many different conditions for each reality to arise. So yesterday we talked about some conditions. We talked about how panya is accumulated when it arises now, just like attachment is usually accumulated. This is by the habit or the accumulation. And this is one condition in Pali, Pakatu Upanisya Pachya, the natural decisive support condition, quite different from karma, a different condition, which conditions the seeing now or the hearing now or certain kinds of rupas like the eye sense or the ear sense, which are arising and falling away all the time. So we learn about different conditions. Karma is one, natural decisive support condition is another, chitta is another one. So we've been learning about rupas conditioned by chitta. Sound can be conditioned by temperature, like the sound of the wind, the sound of the air conditioner is conditioned by chitta. But now we're talking about the sound which arises in a group conditioned by chitta, not by temperature. So gradually we learn about different kinds of conditions in order to let go the idea of anyone that has any control at all. And Ajahn referred to the second round. I think yesterday we discussed about how there has to be the firm intellectual understanding of different realities to start with in order to condition the direct understanding, pati-pati. As she mentioned, often people have the idea of practicing or doing or going somewhere, but the direct understanding, the pati-pati, which is the second round, the direct understanding of realities, which are dukkha, because they arise and fall away. It has to be conditioned by the firm intellectual understanding, the pariyatti understanding. So we learn about rupas conditioned in different ways. The vikara rupas that Ajahn referred to are involved in bodily movement. For example, even in deep sleep, the chittas condition these rupas, but there's no intention to convey a meaning. There's no intention to gesture or convey a meaning, but still there are groups of rupas, which include the vikara rupas, different from the vaci vinyati and the kaya vinyati. And now when conveying a meaning, there may be groups of rupas conditioned by chittas, which include the 8 rupas that always arise in every group, plus kaya vinyati, plus the 3 vikara rupas, so then 12 rupas. So we learn a little more, because actually the teachings that the Buddha taught are very detailed, just to show these are just different elements arising and falling away, conditioned by in different ways. In the case of rupas, by temperature, like the rupas of the flowers, only conditioned by temperature, by chitta, like these ones, by karma, like the eye sense, ear sense, masculinity, femininity rupas, or by nutriment. We know if we don't eat and we get very sick, the rupas of the body are affected. So nutriment is also a condition.
Con xin chào các vị thầy ạ. Tất cả những gì là thật thì nó luôn là bây giờ. Thế nhưng mà vô minh thì nó che phủ. Và qua rất nhiều những khoảng khắc tâm thì chúng ta mới kinh nghiệm được nó. và những cái bóng ảnh đó nó làm cho các tính chất thật nó bị sai lệch đi rất nhiều. Nhưng mà rõ ràng là chúng ta có thể nhận được ra các cái khoảng khắc khác nhau giữa vui và buồn, giữa tham và sân. Nhưng mà nhờ được nghe lời dạy của Đức Phật, mỗi một cái chi tiết được nghe, dần dần chúng ta sẽ nhận nó ra, các pháp đó ra một cách rõ ràng hơn. Tất nhiên là đầu tiên nó rất là mờ, nhưng mà càng ngày nó sẽ càng rõ lên nhờ việc học, được nghe về các chi tiết của các pháp. Và đó có phải là con đường để vun bồi trí tuệ không ạ?
So he said that everything is real, is now, but the truth of it is covered by ignorance. And because it arises and falls away very quickly, so we know only about the nimitta. However, we can still distinguish between different moments, such as the moments of being angry or the moment of being happy. So when we learn about many details, little by little, we can start to know a little bit about those different moments. Is that the way to develop understanding?
We are talking about knowing different conditioned realities. And in the Dhamma, the function of knowing is performed by understanding. Actually, there are different levels of understanding. But still, whatever, even for weak understanding, or even the beginning knowing requires understanding of one level or another. So the understanding of different realities cannot begin by choosing to study them. The reason we are discussing different realities here is because the arising of understanding can be conditioned by reflection on what has been heard. We are discussing different realities because we are discussing the description of the world as given by the Buddha. But that doesn't mean that there can straight away be understanding of realities. Understanding itself is one of those conditioned realities that we are talking about. It arises with awareness also, another mental factor. And it cannot be made to arise because we would like to have a better understanding of present moment realities. It arises by its conditions, like the anger you mentioned or the attachment you mentioned. They are mental factors. Understanding is a mental factor too. They all arise by conditions, not by will. But on the other hand, we can say that those realities can only be known when they arise and appear. So they can't be known at any other time, obviously. Why do we think of knowing anger and attachment, for example, and not, say, seeing or visible object? That's because maybe not your case, but for most of us anyway, we have an idea that certain realities need to be known before others, particularly the unwholesome mental factors, because we would like to have less of them and more of the wholesome ones. But that's not the way understanding develops. It is understanding that, if you like, decides what the object will be. And this will depend on many factors, including the understanding that has been accumulated previously. Who knows what objects of understanding, or in relation to which objects understanding was developed in the past. There's no way of knowing that. But that'll be one factor that has a bearing on which objects are known in this lifetime. So we do discuss, as we just heard in the previous question, we also discuss realities that cannot be known, even though they are arising. It's a very complicated situation in that regard. But if we have confidence in the Buddha's teaching, then we will be content to consider what we've heard, not just now, but on and on in our daily life, as happens naturally, not by forcing. And we will appreciate that there needs to be hearing the Dhamma again and again, to consider, to condition that consideration. Does that answer your question?
Anger or happiness now?
Con đang có sự tri ân ạ. Con hoàn toàn đồng ý với chú John là các pháp nó xuất hiện một cách theo duyên của nó. Thế nhưng mà rõ ràng là từ khi mà mình nghe những lời dạy chi tiết của Đức Phật hay là của các vị thầy, thì cái nhận biết của mình về những cái khoảng khắc trong cuộc sống nó sáng hơn, nó rõ hơn. Mình có thể có những cái ngày xưa con nghĩ đó là thiện, nhưng mà nhờ lời dạy chi tiết của các vị thầy thì con nhận ra nó là bất thiện với bản thân. Và khi mà nhận ra điều đấy, nó lại làm duyên cho con tinh tấn, tham nhẫn để tiếp tục học từng chút một, từng chi tiết một, nhỏ nhặt một, để rồi nó lại có đủ duyên để trong cuộc sống này có những khoảng khắc mình nhận ra sự khác biệt của các pháp. Con thì chưa có khả năng để nhận ra các pháp, nhưng mà con nhận ra những cái sự khác biệt giữa những khoảng khắc mặc dù là nó bị vô minh che phủ, nó bị vón cục, nhưng mà rõ ràng nó có những cái tính chất khác nhau. Còn lúc nãy con nói về tham, về sân là con chỉ lấy ví dụ để cho mình thấy rằng là mình có thể nhận ra được, mặc dù là nó bị vô minh nó che phủ dày đặc, nó bị các pháp trộn lẫn, nhưng nó vẫn còn những đặc tính, nó vẫn còn một ánh sáng le lói dưới con đường.
So earlier when I mentioned about anger or happiness, it was just an example. And I agree with you that Dhamma arise and fall away. But I do feel that because of hearing the Dhamma and understanding more about the Dhamma, there's a clearer understanding of those realities in the daily life, and that condition more virya and more khanti to listen more each detail. So I think maybe that's what he said.
And as we know, even a child knows when they're angry or when they're happy, but it's my anger my happiness, and it's just an idea. And we begin to study Dhamma and we appreciate these realities don't belong to me or anyone, and they fall away so quickly. Before we studied the Dhamma, we might have thought that I'm angry for half an hour, but now we know when anger arises, it's just a moment of seeing now, no anger, the moment of hearing now, no anger, and the moment of clinging now, no anger, at the moment of ignorance without attachment or aversion, no anger. So it's just for a moment and then gone. So when I asked, is there happiness or anger now? We may say, oh, happiness, we're with our friends and everything is very pleasant. We have an idea of a situation, but the study of Dhamma, the understanding leads closer and closer to understanding actually anger or happiness. They're just elements, dhatus, that arise and fall away in an instant, just like the speech intimation or bodily intimation. They don't appear because when we talk about making gestures, we're just talking about the situation. It's not actually the understanding of the very, very subtle rupa. And the same way when we talk about happiness, it's not the direct understanding of the second round, which directly knows that element that arises and falls away instantly. It's just an impression and a little letting go of the idea of it belonging to me, and a little more idea that it's so very temporary, and we begin to appreciate it when there's seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, no happiness, no pleasant feeling at those moments. So it must be so very brief now. So the points you made are good, but when we're learning about different moments, it's not by trying to find them or look for them in our experience, because that would be the subtle idea of trying or doing, wishing to catch, wishing to observe. So this is why the understanding has to be very natural. Let it work its way, not try to catch it or speed it up in any way.
Dạ, cái câu hỏi của con ạ, nó không phải liên quan đến câu hỏi trước của sư cô Như Hòa, mà hôm qua con nghe pháp đàm thì con nghe Achan nói là dù chúng ta có thảo luận, chúng ta có học bao nhiêu đi nữa, mà chúng ta không nhận ra được các cái pháp khi nó ở trong khoảnh khắc hiện tại thì nó cũng chẳng có ích lợi gì cả. Và những cái câu hỏi của con nó là suy tư về câu nói đó. Khi mà có đủ nhân duyên để được học những cái chi tiết về các chuỗi tâm, các lộ trình tâm, các nhân duyên để các tâm nó có thể sinh khởi, càng ngày chúng con càng nhận rõ ra cái sự vô ngã của các pháp sinh khởi bởi duyên.
So actually, my previous question was not related to the question that was raised earlier by the nun, but by the comments Achan made yesterday about we should not just study the words, but also the realities in life. And that was my reflection after that comment from Achan.
So that is true, but study the realities in life doesn't mean I study or I observe or I look for the realities. It has to be the natural development of understanding, the middle way, not trying even a little. For example, when we're talking about a lot about seeing yesterday, is anyone trying to be aware or trying to understand seeing? It can creep in very quickly that subtle idea of trying to catch the reality. And that's not the study of what appears now. As soon as there's any trying or wishing or looking for, it's not the study that the Buddha talked about.
And as we were also saying yesterday, which I was going to mention, the present moment has already gone. As living in the conventional world, the anger or the attachment or the seeing that is apparent to us now has already fallen away. So that is why it is not the way for the understanding of those realities to begin, because there can never be paying attention to the exact present moment. The only way that the present moment can be understood is by the arising of awareness and understanding at the same time, not at the time we think we observe the realities.
Dạ đúng rồi ạ. Nhờ được nghe giáo pháp, nhờ được nghe lời dạy của các vị thầy hàng ngày thì nó có đủ duyên để trong một khoảng khắc nào đấy trong cuộc sống tự nhiên mình lại có nảy sinh những cái suy tư về những cái điều nó vừa xảy ra. Và con xin hỏi cô Sarah một câu là lúc nãy cô nói là những cái tiến trình nó diễn ra một cách tự nhiên ấy. Tại sao mình không dùng cái từ là diễn ra theo duyên như những gì Đức Phật nói, mà lại phải nói là diễn ra một cách tự nhiên? Ai để cho nó tự nhiên?
Hỏi vậy thì khó lắm, tại vì là quan trọng là cái ý thôi đúng không?
Dịch ạ, đấy là dịch ạ.
Chị nghĩ là
Dạ, thế em
quan
xin
trọng
lỗi,
là
để
em
em
nếu mà
hỏi
cái
lại.
điều để hiểu cái gì nó quan trọng thôi. Thì bây giờ
Dạ.
cái ý mà em muốn nói với bác John là đúng như vậy đúng không?
Vâng ạ.
Sau khi được nghe giảng thì cũng có làm duyên cho những khoảnh khắc suy nghĩ trong cuộc sống về những gì đã vừa xảy ra đúng không? He said that indeed, because of hearing the Dhamma, so it conditioned moments in daily life where we think about what has just happened.
Yes, it may. Just thinking. Not the same as understanding. Something that's just happened cannot be the object of understanding, can it? So thinking, it does condition thinking. And the thinking, depending on conditions, may be wholesome thinking or not. It doesn't really matter, but I agree that hearing the Dhamma like this is a condition for thinking about what has just arisen later, thinking later on about what is arising or has just arisen the present moment. But we should be careful not to take that for awareness and understanding.
I'm sorry.
Dạ.
It's the same in the example, for example, about Kaya Vinyati. For many people, when they hear these details, especially if they're quite new here, it's just maybe a condition for thinking with confusion, not helpful at all. But for someone like the sister who has studied quite a lot, maybe condition for understanding a little more about dharmas as anatta, more confidence that no one can do anything. So it depends on the kind of thinking at this moment, whether it's kusala or akusala, with wise attention or wise, unwise attention. And it was the same when the Buddha spoke. For some people, they would listen and become enlightened. For others, they would turn away and not appreciate the talk at all. So it all comes back to the chitta and the understanding at this moment. And that's the study, understanding just what appears, even when we're talking about details. Understanding or confusion, happiness, unhappiness, just different dhammas. And there can be a little understanding anytime. And that is why whatever we talk about is not in the book. It's about this very moment, understanding what appears right now, even when we're talking about the details of a kaya vinyati rupa. What is the reality now when thinking? Otherwise, we're just lost in the story of the details. There's no understanding of what appears now at all. So what you say is right. It has to be the study now. And the letting go of the idea of I, my experience, my happiness, my anger, just what appears now.
Dạ, và tất cả nó cũng diệt đi rồi. Thế nhưng mà nhờ việc mình có chút xíu về những cái khoảng khắc hiện tại thì nó lại làm duyên cho mình có thể tinh tấn và kham nhẫn để tiếp tục học những cái chi tiết rất nhỏ nhặt, rất kỹ càng. Dạ.
Ý đó vừa nãy em có nói và chị có dịch rồi. Đoạn trước đó em có nói rồi đúng không?
Vâng.
Ừ. Em có ý nào khác nữa không?
Có. Có những pháp nó sinh khởi bây giờ nhưng mà nó bị vón cục và tư duy thì nó nhận ra nó bởi các cái khía cạnh, có khi là lại nhờ một tính chất của một pháp khác có trong đó để mình có thể phân biệt được thiện hay bất thiện.
Câu hỏi của em là gì?
Dạ, đến tới trao đổi ạ.
Thế thì em có thể nói lại không? Em nói là các thực tại nó bị vón cục này. Xong rồi nhờ có thể một cái tính chất nào đó, xong biết là bất thiện hay bất thiện, chị chưa rõ lắm cái ý của em.
Dạ. Thế để em nói lại. Mọi thứ nó cũng đã diệt đi rồi. Thế nhưng mà có những cái tính chất dù là nó bị vón cục nhưng mà nó được nhận ra để nó có thể phân biệt được thiện với bất thiện. Rõ ràng là khi bất thiện nó sinh khởi dồn dập, tâm nó có sự xao động. Và khi thiện nó sinh khởi, nó có một chút gì đấy của sự an tịnh, quân bình.
I'm not sure that I got him right, but he said that the realities are usually mixed up together, but sometimes we can recognize a characteristic so that we can know that it's kusala or akusala. For example, at the moment of kusala, there is passaddhi, and at the moment of akusala, there is restlessness.
These are both mental factors, and yes, in a sense, they are the signature of the kusala citta or the akusala citta. When you say we can recognize the calmness or the restlessness, it's a question of whether that is a level of direct understanding or whether it's having the knowledge that kusala is calm and akusala is restless, whether it's thinking about is it calm now or is it restless now? And this is not how the understanding of the true nature of conditioned realities develops. This is more a case of, okay, we've heard about this and we are applying what we've heard to what is appearing now. So we have to be careful not to take thinking for anything to do with understanding. But no one can know, only the individual themselves can know whether it's some kind of understanding or whether it's just thinking in the sense of applying what we have heard to the present moment, because that's not the same as the natural arising of awareness and understanding.
Dạ đúng ạ, chỉ có cái hiểu của lời chúng ta mới hiểu được cái vấn đề của lời chúng ta. Thế nhưng mà khi mà mình có một chút cái hiểu của con là về mặt tư duy đấy ạ. Thế nhưng mà nó cũng nhận được ra rất nhiều bất thiện ở lời bản thân. Khi trước kia thì tà kiến thì luôn cho rằng đó là những điều tốt đẹp. Nhưng nhờ được học giáo pháp, nhờ được nghe những lời chi tiết mà nhận ra được các cái bất thiện ở lời bản thân.
My understanding is only intellectual level. However, it helps me to recognize a lot of akusala in me. Before I thought that it was kusala, but now I can know that it's akusala.
Well, it's good to know how much agusala there is in daily life, because it's mostly agusala. But again, we should not confuse this with understanding of the nature of realities. Knowing more about the gusala and agusala is and may be helpful in if our interest is to develop calmness, for example. But even so, it is not to be confused with any level of understanding. Just knowing how much agusala there is in a day, anyone can actually think about that without having heard the Buddha's teaching. They may not know about citta and cetasika, but they can, if someone thinks about it, they can consider how much of the day is kusala, how much is agusala. And it's not the essence of the Buddha's teaching. And also, as we said at the beginning, why do we keep coming back to agusala and gusala with our thinking? Because the Buddha's teaching is about all realities, any reality. And
tại vì con thấy rằng là trí tuệ nó không thể sinh khởi vùng các tâm bất thiện. Nó cần phải có nền tảng là các tâm thiện. Mà trong khi bây giờ tích lũy của lời mình về bất thiện thì nó quá lớn, thiện thì nó vô cùng mỏng manh. Nó sinh khởi một cái thì đã rất nhiều bất thiện nó tiếp tục sinh khởi. Và khi cái bóng cái nền tảng về thiện của mình nó yếu ớt như vậy thì làm sao đủ duyên cho trí tuệ nó sinh khởi đây? Và con nghĩ là phát triển trí tuệ hay là phát triển sự thiện tâm, nó cũng đều là những cái yếu tố rất cần thiết trên con đường giác ngộ.
Because understanding doesn't arise with akusala, and it needs the foundation of kusala to be developed. He said he thinks that the development of kusala and the development of understanding go together and are part of the path to enlightenment.
Well, every mental faculty is accumulated, whether it's kusala or agusala or even sanya, for example. So it's the same with understanding. It's the same with saddha. It's the same with sati. The different mental factors accumulate at different level. But the condition for awareness and understanding to arise is the previous accumulation of awareness and understanding. And it's true to say that they cannot arise at the same moment as a kusala, but that they can understand a kusala that is arising, so it can arise in the midst of a kusala. So it's not really necessary to think of having more kusala and less akusala in order to be a foundation for awareness and understanding. The foundation for that awareness and understanding is the previously accumulated tendency of those mental factors. And the condition for their arising in this lifetime is hearing the Buddha's teaching and considering his explanation of the world as it is at this moment. And the core part of that, we have a very nice backdrop to our discussions, all Dhammas. And it's not our anicca, dukkha, anatta. It's not some Dhammas that need to be known. It's all Dhammas, or any Dhamma, to be the object of awareness and understanding. There's no preparatory work to be done, and there's no order in which there's no specific order in which realities are to be the object of awareness and understanding. It all happens by conditions. So there's so many ways we have of thinking that there must be something we can do that will help awareness and understanding to develop. Whether it's a ritual of some kind, or paying attention, or developing more kusala is one of those things that we think would be good, would be helpful for the arising of awareness and understanding. But it's a false trail, actually, because the accumulation of, say, of the calm of samatha is not a condition for the arising of awareness and understanding. It supports, if it's been accumulated already, of course, it's a support for it. But it's not one of those factors that we can say, well, the more calmness has been developed, the better chance there is of awareness and understanding arising, because it's a different path, in a sense, leads to the development of calmness, leads to a different outcome than the understanding of the true nature of realities.
Đúng như bác Dồn nói ạ. Con không có ý định là làm một cái gì đấy, mà ý con muốn nói đây đến sự cân bằng giữa thiện pháp và trí tuệ. Cái nào đủ duyên nó sẽ được phát triển, chứ không phải là sự lựa chọn, sự mong muốn đến những cái gì nó tốt hơn, nó hay hơn.
What you said is right, but I didn't mean to say one should do something, but I was just aiming at the balancing between kusala and understanding.
Và rõ ràng là trong kinh thì mình thấy là Đức Phật nói là những gì mà Ngài nói nó đều dẫn đến giác ngộ và giải thoát. Còn nếu không dẫn đến thì Ngài không nói.
And in the sutta, the Buddha said numerous times that whatever he said lead to enlightenment, and without it being necessary, the Buddha have not said those things.
Well, I'd like to just question that a little bit, because it's easy to get confused by different things. Now, what the Buddha said about kusala and akusala is that kusala is to be developed and akusala is to be abandoned. He said that quite categorically. So we know that it's good if kusala develops, and it's good if akusala is abandoned, is reduced. But when it comes to the path to enlightenment, he didn't say that was the path to enlightenment. The path to enlightenment is the understanding of the true nature of present moment realities. So we shouldn't mix those two aspects together. It's clear that kusala can be developed to very high degrees without there being any development of understanding of the true nature of present moment realities. And the essence of the Buddha's teaching is the latter one. What's up there?
Dạ, chú nói rất đúng vào cái con muốn nói. Đấy là Đức Phật nói là bất thiện thì cần phải được giảm đi và tăng trưởng về thiện pháp. Thì bất thiện giảm đi thì nó cũng chính là con đường. Tại vì chỉ có trí tuệ thì nó mới diệt trừ được bất thiện. Chẳng ai diệt trừ được bất thiện cả.
Thực ra thế này Phương ạ, bởi vì bác không chỉ nói câu đó, bác còn nói cả đoạn sau nữa. Thế cho nên nếu mà Phương bảo bác nói đúng nhưng mà lại chỉ trích dẫn đoạn đầu thôi thì không phải là ý của bác, đúng không? Bác nói
Em vẫn đang nói theo ý của bác đây, để em nói lại hay chị nghe không rõ?
Không, chị nghe rất rõ, tức là ý là bác có nói là Đức Phật có giảng về thiện và bất thiện, và nói là thiện là cái cần phát triển và bất thiện cần phải được giảm, nhưng mà bác nói là điều ấy không nên lầm nhầm lẫn với đâu là con đường giải thoát. Con đường giải thoát phải là phát triển hiểu biết về các thực tại.
Ý em là cái phát triển hiểu biết đấy chính là làm giảm đi cái bất thiện. Cái gì có thể diệt trừ được bất thiện? Nó chỉ là trí tuệ mà thôi.
Được rồi, để từ từ chị dịch lại đoạn em nói. Cái giảm bất thiện chính là con đường phát triển trí tuệ, đúng không em nói, đúng không? He said that because before he said that he agreed with what you said, but he only quoted the first part of what you said. So I said that it was not the whole meaning of what you said. And he now said that because the decreasing of akusala is the path to enlightenment.
Và chính vì thế nên em mới nói là phát triển thiện tâm và phát triển trí tuệ nó có sự cân bằng ở đó.
And then he said that's why he said that the development of kusala and the development of understanding has to be balanced.
A lot of time left for the morning session. Perhaps Ajahn would like to add some comments.
Shall we begin again? Begin again and again and again to consider more, to understand more and more.
Có lên.
So please, what's your question? What is your question? The first question.
Câu hỏi của con pháp là gì ạ?
So now his question is, what is Dhamma? Now,
I think the first question when you were speaking was about distinguishing moments of being angry and being happy, and learning about the details to understand about different moments.
I thought that you asked about how to experience directly the truth of this moment. Is that the first question? No. The very first question.
Từ khi con được nghe giáo pháp từ lời bà, con không nhớ là con nghe bao nhiêu lần từ pháp, nhưng mỗi lần con nghe từ pháp đó, nó lại có một chút mới.
So that he has listened to you so many times and he cannot know how many times he listened to the word Dhamma, but every time he listened to it, it's like anew.
Và nếu được trao đổi với bà, câu hỏi của con luôn luôn là Pháp là gì?
Why do we have to talk many times, uncountable times about Dhamma?
Một từ trong Tam Tạng, đối với con nếu mà có một cái hiểu tròn đầy như Đức Phật thì cần phải hiểu toàn bộ Tam Tạng mới có thể hiểu được một từ trong Tam Tạng. Vì thế lên nghe một từ thôi với con chưa bao giờ là đủ.
He said that we need to know everything in the Tipitaka in order to understand one word, Dhamma, one word. So for him, it's never enough to listen.
So can there be understanding of everything without just one thing at a time?
Không ạ.
Said no.
There has to be understanding of one reality and then the other one and then the other one until it's all or everything, right? So is there Dhamma now?
Dạ.
What Dhamma is there now?
Hiện giờ có Pháp ạ. Nếu không có Pháp ở đây thì có cái gì được nhận biết đây?
Cái gì là Pháp hiện giờ?
Đó là yếu tố kinh nghiệm ạ.
That which experiences.
Now, what is it?
Cụ thể là gì?
Cụ thể nó là cái thấy ạ.
Can it be everything or just one reality in a moment?
That is seeing.
Chỉ một.
Okay. Is there understanding of seeing as a Dhamma? No one there at all.
Cái thấy nó là một pháp. Thế nhưng mà nó sinh lên và nó diệt đi ngay tức khắc.
Câu hỏi của A-chan là có cái hiểu gì về cái thấy hiện giờ chỉ là một pháp không thôi mà?
Dạ. Không ạ, nhưng mà rõ ràng là nhiều việc có cái thấy mà con đang nhận biết được mình đang ở đây, đang nói chuyện với bà.
Tức là không có cái hiểu đúng không? Sau đó thì có đoạn sau em nói là nhờ có cái thấy mà biết được hiện giờ em đang nói chuyện với bà đúng không?
Nếu không có cái thấy thì không có yếu tố kinh nghiệm thì cái gì được biết đây?
Nhiều ý quá, chị nghĩ là chị sẽ chỉ dịch đoạn đó thôi. So first he said, no, there's no understanding now. And then he said, but because of seeing, I can know that now I see A-chan.
Before seeing, is there seeing?
Không ạ.
No. What is there before seeing?
Lại có một cái yếu tố kinh nghiệm khác.
Another,
Nó bị trộn lẫn và con chưa nhận ra rõ ràng. Nhưng là rõ ràng diệt đi nó mới làm đủ duyên cho cái thấy nó sinh khởi.
Another experiencing reality, but I cannot know it exactly, but it has to be fallen away before so that seeing can arise.
And what is there after seeing?
Lại cũng có một yếu tố kinh nghiệm tiếp theo đủ duyên để sinh khởi ạ.
It's another experiencing element that arise to experience the object.
Is it there now?
Nó đang nối tiếp liên tục nên là cuộc sống chúng ta vẫn đang nhận nó đang tồn tại. Chính vì là nó liên tục sinh khởi. Thế nên là cái nhận thức của chúng ta về mọi thứ nó vẫn đang cứ tồn tại ở đây.
It just goes on in succession, and that's why we think that everything is lasting.
The idea, or can it be known a little more? What is there before seeing is not seeing, right? And what is there after seeing is not seeing. So where's the I? And which one would you like to experience?
Không ở đâu cả, nhờ việc được nghe về những chuỗi, những lộ trình, những chi tiết, những duyên nhân duyên để có pháp sinh khởi. Cái tôi mà ngày xưa mình cho rằng nó đang tồn tại, nó sẽ bị nhòa dần đi.
There's no I, and thanks to hearing about different realities, about different conditions, the I that we thought existing before, that idea slowly wears away.
So you talk about kusala, right? Just before we talk about sin.
Dạ.
Okay, what is it? Can kusala see?
Kusala không phải là cái thấy á.
Kusala is not seeing.
So what does it experience? Kusala means
Nó cái
Thiện kinh nghiệm cái gì?
thiện kinh nghiệm các cái khái niệm.
It experiences concepts, he said. He said concepts.
kusala.
Yes, he said.
Is kusala real?
He said kusala experiences concepts.
You mean that kusala does not experience that which is seen now?
Cái được thấy thì chỉ có nhãn thức nó sinh kinh nghiệm thôi ạ.
He said that the visible object is only experienced by seeing consciousness.
And kusala experience what? What is the object of kusala? Chitta.
Vậy thì tâm thiện kinh nghiệm cái gì? Chẳng nhẽ không?
Khi mà ở các cái dòng đồng tốc á, đối tượng của nó vẫn là đối tượng thị giác. Thế nhưng mà cái mà thiện nó kinh nghiệm ở đó thì là những cái tính chất của các cái đối tượng thị giác đó.
Chưa hiểu cái đoạn sau của em. So he said that okay, in the Javana moments, the chitta, the kusala chitta can experience visible object.
What do you mean by Shavana?
Đồng tốc là em có thể giải thích cái hiểu của em về đồng tốc không? Đồng tốc là gì?
Thì con cũng chỉ những cái đấy là những cái kiến thức, con thì không có hiểu biết chút xíu về nó, mà chỉ nhờ là được đọc, giờ nhờ những cái lời kinh sách để lại. Thì những cái đồng tốc đấy là những cái mà những cái dòng đồng tốc để cảm nghiệm các cái đối tượng được kinh nghiệm. Thế nhưng mà nó lại không cảm nghiệm trực tiếp đối tượng. Mặc dù là lúc đấy đối tượng nó vẫn đang ở đó, nhưng mà con nghĩ là cái yếu tố chi tiết này thì con cũng không có hiểu rõ, và xin được các vị có thể chia sẻ nhiều hơn ạ.
He said that he just learned about the Javana chittas from the books, and he doesn't have a clear understanding about the Javana chittas, because somehow he said that it doesn't experience the object directly, but he's not sure about his knowledge at all.
That's right. Begin again to understand each reality as it is, clearer and clearer. Otherwise, there must be the idea of I all the time. The way or the path leading to let go, wrong understanding, taking that which is not I as I, has to be right understanding of that which is there, which has been taken for I, to have less attachment to the I, because seeing is just seeing. It's conditioned to arise just to see and then gone. Where's the I? Nothing can be taken for I when there's a little more understanding of the truth of it. That's why we begin again and we begin again.
Dạ, từ khi con học giáo pháp đến bây giờ thì con vẫn luôn luôn bắt đầu lại từ khoảng khắc bây giờ.
Since I started studying the Dhamma, I always begin at this very moment.
Is kusala chitta or cetasika?
Chưa dịch.
Thiện thì là tâm hay là tâm sở?
Thiện là tâm sở.
Without that which
He said-
arises, which is kusala, can chitta be kusala?
He said that it's the Chittasika that is kusala.
Yesterday we talked about that.
Hiện giờ đang có thấy không?
So yesterday we mentioned how every chitta in life is pure, is pandara. It's not like people may think of something to be found inside oneself, or no, each chitta arises and falls away, it's pandara. And when it is kusala or akusala, it means that the cetasikas that arise with the chitta at that moment are kusala or akusala, and they condition the chitta and the chitta conditions them. But the chitta itself is clear, is pandara, and the cetasikas are kusala or akusala, but they give their name to the chitta. When akusala cetasikas arise, the chitta is known as akusala because it is affected by the akusala cetasikas. So when we talk about in the idol process, the javana chittas, these are actually kusala or akusala chittas arising with kusala or akusala cetasikas, experiencing the visible object. So even at those moments, the object is that reality, the visible object. And then afterwards, when there's thinking about what's seen, as you said, it is a concept, an idea that is experienced. And we don't have to think about the balancing, because then it's an idea of I balancing. Actually, understanding develops and performs its task. And it's the understanding that balances, that conditions all the kusala factors to perform their tasks naturally. Without understanding, no paramis, no development of kusala at all. So it's not a matter of kusala first and then understanding, or kusala separately. Understanding is the greatest kusala, and it conditions other kinds of kusala to develop together, to do their work. Otherwise, for sure, there will be the idea of I and my kusala, like, as you mentioned, at a moment of kindness, for example, it's calm, but the chittas arise and fall away so quickly. So very quickly there's thinking about, oh, it's calm, clinging, or my metta, my calm. So without understanding of dhammas as dhamma, back to the beginning, it will always be I, and I trying to have more kusala in different subtle ways. So understanding now, as you were stressing at the beginning, not in the book, but this moment, is most important. Understanding Dhamma as Dhamma, not self.
Con cảm ơn cô Sarah. Trong các dòng đồng tốc thì đối tượng của nó vẫn là đối tượng thị giác, nhưng rõ ràng nó không thấy. Vậy nó kinh nghiệm các cái đối tượng thị giác đấy như nào ạ?
So in the idol process, the Javana Chitta experience the visible object, but they don't see the object. So can you explain how do they experience the object without seeing?
I'm going to keep it brief because I think it's time for us to finish so our friends can have their lunch. So in the idol process, only the seeing itself sees what is visible. The other chittas in the idol process, they all experience visible object, the same visible object, but not by seeing it, because only the seeing consciousness has the function of seeing. The other chittas, such as the adverting consciousness, the receiving consciousness, the investigating consciousness, the kusala and akusala chittas, they all have their particular functions, but it is the visible object that is the object. But because they don't have the function of seeing, they experience the visible object with their own particular functions. I think we can discuss this more this afternoon.
Dạ, để thế. Dạ, mong rằng chiều cô Sarah có thể giúp con hiểu thêm về những cái điều đó.
Yes, I'm happy to listen more this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you for all your good questions.
Thank you, Achan and Jonitjara. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.